In this demonstration, we're going to be talking about how to create a turnaround view of your character. The first step is to create your concept work and then do your initial pose, which we have here, the face front pose. This will give us our initial volume set in order to work from. Once you have that, bring it into Photoshop. I'm using the show rulers, and I can first create a set of guides in order to develop my volume set and my turnaround. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the points of reference by clicking and dragging from the ruler down to the character. I'm going to identify the top of the head, the center of the eyes, the bottom of the chin, top of the shoulder, the bottom of the neck, top of the shoulder, right at the bust line, and the smallest part of the waist is usually the bottom of the rib cage. I'm going to identify the largest part of the hip area, which is typically where the head of the greater trochanter is on either side. And I'm going to go down to the top of the knee, the bottom of the knee, the ankle. Usually the inside of the ankle is higher than the outside, just a point of reference there, and the ground plane. Now this character is standing pretty straightforward, so I'm going to assume that the heel of the character is on the ground at the same point as the toes are. So once I have this set of construction lines, I can begin to develop the turnaround pose. So the first thing we're going to do to develop our back pose is to go in and black out the areas that define it as the front pose. Now you can see that even by just doing that, we almost have our entire back pose done. So the only thing that we need to do now for the 3D construction template is to go in and identify any backpack or gear that she may be wearing on the back side, anything that makes the back different than the front. If this character has a tail, you'll want to identify that. Anything that's going to help us when we get this ported into our image plane in our 3D package to start developing this character. Alright, so achieving the profile view of your character is very different than achieving the back view. You don't have a silhouette to launch from. So what we're going to do first is give ourselves a construction line. Now the stance of a pose is not straight up and down. We have a spine that is has a lot of curvature to it, and we also have a weight distribution factor when we're looking at how characters stand. So we want to define that right up front. The way I'm going to do that is give myself an arc of motion. In the animation world, arc of motion is a very powerful tool in understanding how things move, and so we're going to create movement right off the bat, even in our static pose. So if I give myself a brush, I'm going to define that arc of motion on a new layer, and we'll build off of that. So working with a mouse, I'm not sure how well this is going to come off, but we'll give it a try. So I want a nice arc. That's not going to happen. No, that's not going to happen. And then there's a gravitational pull on these, so it's interesting. Alright, so let's get rid of our construction line to start with, so we don't have to deal with that. Alright, let's go ahead and block it in with the brush tool. So I'm going to pick a brush that is approximately the same size as the head of the character, which that will do it. So when we define those volumes, we'll start with the back of the head, and then we'll give ourselves a little bit more for the front of the head, and then the top of the shoulder. And as we work down, we want to identify the curvature of the spine, so we're just going to give ourselves, let's take down the radius of our brush. Let's take down the diameter of our brush. Alright, so the actual spine has a curvature such as this, and we want to make sure to work from that. When we do a powerful character, the attitude of the character generally has shoulders back, and so it actually tilts the rib cage forward at the lower portion, which in turn, the counterbalance of the hips, it tilts the hips forward at the top, so we end up having something that looks like that. And you accentuate that just a little bit, and it really has a very powerful attitude aspect to that. So rib cage, we have a breast for this character. We have the chin that comes down to this line, forehead a little bit higher. So I'm just working off of these construction lines to begin to block in the volumes of this character. So we want to come straight down and out just a little bit to identify the front of the knee. And then of course a little bit set back is the volume of the calf, and this is the base of the heel and the foot. So in working up, we will have the thigh area identified, a little bit more of the calf. This character has very slender limbs and narrow joints, and that is, by the way, very favorable in a female character as well as a male character to have small joints and well-defined muscle areas. So the smaller the joints, actually too small is weak looking, but if you have small narrow joints coupled with larger, more defined muscles, it's really a good attributes for your human characters. Also, a couple of the features that I want to talk to you in the face. For women, a heart-shaped facial shape is known as a better, more attractive facial shape. It's larger at the forehead and a small, narrow chin. Full lips, yes, but not large lips. Wide set, large eyes are favorable. And the mandible area on the women, even though it's a strong character depicting strength, you'll want to minimize the mandible area, the jawline, just a little bit. In men characters, large mandibles is also known as an attribute of strength. So if you have a powerful character, you want to accentuate that. With men, wide set eyes are not advisable. Narrow set eyes are not good either, but somewhere in the middle. is a good choice for men's eyes, and also large eyes in men are not favorable. A deep set brow is favorable for men. So you want to keep those things in mind if you're developing human characters. Once you have your volumes in place for your character, you want to just double check the lines of your character. Make sure that you have identified the top of the shoulder. You don't have to do the arm necessarily in the side pose. In fact, it's better that you don't, so that you have a clearer vision of your silhouette for your figure. But you do want to identify the volumes as well as possible before you take that into your 3D animation package and begin modeling with it. So the neck is not straight up off the character, it actually juts forward slightly. And as you research the anatomy of human characters, which I highly recommend that you know your anatomy like the back of your hand. You need to know anatomy, human and animal anatomy, in order to create really great fantasy characters as well. The better you know your anatomy, the better your characters are going to look and feel to the general populace. We're not going to do the 3/4 views front and back in this pictorial, but it is advisable that you go ahead and do those. They're done in generally the same way as the profile view. Once you have one of those poses, again, it is the exact silhouette. So once you do your 3/4 view front, you'll duplicate that and do the same thing that we did with the back pose. From the front pose, that becomes your silhouette for creating that additional pose. It cuts your time considerably, and it really is a help to make sure that you stay on target with your volumes. So I think that's generally as much as we need to say for this tutorial, and just want to make sure that you absolutely go from life for your characters, and make sure that you know your anatomy and you're depicting it well. There's a lot of work left to do on this character. The hips are slightly too far back. They should come a little bit more forward in order to be a stronger pose, and the foot is not quite aligned with the head. Actually, the head should come a little bit more forward to create a strong stance. She looks like she's leaning slightly back. So we'll go ahead and continue to work on this, and I'll come back when it's closer to being finished. Alright, so I've been working on this character just a little bit more on the profile turnabout pose, and it's almost there. Just want to continue to make sure that we reference our construction lines as we work, and especially when you're doing your 3/4 pose. Once you have your 3/4 front, you will be able to easily construct your 3/4 back. And alright, I think we have it.